Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Jack and Cole podcast with your host Jack and
It's Kole, that's right. The name of our podcast got taken, but that's okay because we didn't actually put it up on Spotify. So now we're the Jack and Cole podcast, which is a little bit better anyway. Like it's more specific to our actual situation, I think.
we just do whatever the hell we want anyways, so that's totally fine. They have like a whole group of people. They do it with like six people. Shout out to the Gathering of Magic podcast. Go go listen to that podcast. But we're gonna be talking today about the One Ring and what could happen if it's not banned. Cole, what could happen, do you think, if they just choose, maybe for marketing reasons, maybe they're gonna reprint it in two sets from now? They just can't ban it because has big like Papa Hasbro's like, nah, we're gonna reprint the hell out of that card and we're gonna have another Lord of the Rings Part Two. Um, and they keep it from being banned. What if nothing gets banned tomorrow?
I'll say that would be unfortunate. If we saw no bans in modern, I'm pretty sure that there would be a max exodus from the format for a lot of people. I don't know. Some of the the challenge results where, 7 of the 8, 8 of the 8 top 8 deck lists are all Boros energy, like, people have to be tired of this at this point, and if anyone who has been playing Modern or is a Modern player has agency in this ban announcement, I think that we'll see that. But if we see Hasbro come through in the announcement and say that, like, the One Ring is an unbannable card for marketing purposes, um, I don't know, like, for me, I don't like to think that of I don't like to think of that as a reality because for me, it's gonna hurt their bottom line way, way worse if they don't ban the One Ring. That's just how I feel about it. How do you feel about it?
I think that it's gonna be important for them to ban it, like 1,000%. I think that there is a chance that I feel like deja vu with this sequence because like I feel like I'm staring at grief, right? I feel like there's like a problem and it's a big problem and it's a problem that everybody, like, people are leaving the format because of this problem. Grief was really really bad and they let it sit for almost a year. They banned around it, you know. They were like, we're gonna ban Fury because Fury is the problem. And as a Goblins player, I was right there with everybody else yelling, take grief. Like, leave Fury. I'll die. Let my Goblins deck be unplayable in modern 1,000%. Don't let my poor, like, all my friends who are playing these crazy combo decks or like these mid-range piles, right, have their cards taken from them. Like, I play Leyland and Sanctity, I don't care, but these people are screaming from the rooftops that this card needs to go.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I th- I think that because they let us sit with Grief, and Grief was reprinted in MH3, and they promoted MH3. They were like, look at these beautiful Griefs, you know. Right after they were like, I think that we're just gonna watch the format and make sure that everything's okay. While it was like one of the most played cards, like while it
Yeah,
was dominating the format,
ridiculous.
I feel like deja vu watching this happen. So I hope it doesn't happen, but it would be crazy if they don't ban the ring. But what else would they ban, Cole, in your opinion, if we're looking at these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, take the time to acknowledge one of the titans of the modern format. That is Aspiring Spike. I think that, like, I do want to just agree with his, like, before you talk any further about the ban discussion, acknowledging how bad the scheduled ban announcements are for the format. Like, to your main point, really how awful the experience of the modern format is has a lot to do with the amount of time you're exposed to cards like Grief, Scam, cards like One Ring into the One Ring. Like, the fact that we all had to sit through even, like, and every subsequent week got more painful. Like, last week was so hard for me to be like, "Okay, we have one more full week of Boros energy hell," and that we all decided to sit through. So I just think that that's the most egregious thing that's going on right now. Bring back ban is needed. I understand that that undermines people's, like, financial um, incentive on cards, but at the end of the day, the format health is way more important to me personally. Um, as a gamer, as someone who plays a lot of modern and experiences that as a competitive format and not as a collector's format. Um, aside from that, I would ban Guide of Souls. I think that like the last podcast we talked about really did a great job of like talking about how Guide of Souls enables the most busted starts, and I would absolutely gut Boros Energy. I would not take Flage away just yet. We were just talking about how because we both bought a play set recently and we don't really want to like so I have personal incentive on that decision. I could understand Flage going, but I would rather see like Guide of Souls and Amped Raptor. Those are 2 energy related cards. Let a Johnny exist in its own space. Let Ocelot Pride exist in its own space. Those cards are both cool and they're powerful. Amped Raptor and Guided Souls are both ridiculous and disgusting, and they have to do with that outside energy resource that we know is too good. So
I totally agree, and I think that you bring up a great point about the timing thing. You know, like I think one of the things that we are not used to are these scheduled bans, where as before, you know, when something was busted, they could just come out and ban it whenever they needed to. And with the increased amount of sets that are being released, it's really important for them to do away with, at least in like eternal formats, get rid of these timed bans because like if you if you release a set and almost it feels like every 2 months, right? It's probably three, but like it feels like every 2 months there's a new set. And if there's a new busted card in each of those sets, right? The Wizards might just say, well, there's going to be a new card in the next set that's going to answer that busted card and let you just sit in the problem for and they could say that like at one point in time and force you to play that busted format, and they just might not realize that it's busted yet, right? Like Nadu, the numbers were there with Nadu. They did not ban Nadu. The entire Pro Tour was Nadu.
yeah, they had
They
the Pro
said
Tour for everyone to just kind of like shine a light
they
on the issue there.
the, the, the word I think the words that the phrasing that they used was, well, we want to let the set shake out. We want to see where the numbers will fall. You
Yeah.
know, we want, and Nadu just ended up being by far and away the best deck, and it was the only thing that got played.
Right.
And so yeah,
Yeah, it's a great point. I think that like to take anything away from this experience that we had, it's not that any of these cards are too powerful, which I think that they are. I think that the greater point is the current band schedule it does not work for the exactly for what like what you said, the pace of sets coming out, like not only the frequency of sets coming into modern, but also the straight to modern sets, which, maybe it's a good opportunity to like talk about the modern straight to modern sets. It's something that's never going to happen again. Apparently, they confirmed um, that they will no longer be printing straight to modern sets or straight to like commander sets or straight to legacy sets. So they'll still be doing that. Uh,
but no more MH.
no more MH sets, and so
Okay.
that's in my eyes, there's like good and bad there. The good for me is like we get to try something new potentially and just kind of experience how modern was. And is that good or
Back to
is that bad?
standard.
It's
Yeah.
something new, and I think that's modern just needs to try something new. Its formula right now is like not great. And the bad news to that is like Wizards' potential to maybe turn away from modern because they're saying, hey, we're not making any direct money off of the modern format, off of the format modern. So what would the incentive be to keep this format from degenerating into, you know, who's to say Wizards is not going to go, the One Ring is the brainstorm of modern? What if they say that on Monday? Like, we've decided The One Ring is the brainstorm of modern, you know? The Guide of Souls is the wasteland of modern. This is how it is now. I would hate that, but, like, there it's an argument that I'm so
Yeah.
my point is
Wizards has
Wizards
made
could do
other
whatever.
arguments. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wizards can do whatever the fuck they want, and they do whatever the fuck they want. Wizards acts mostly at random. They don't really have, like, a ton of cohesion in their thought make in their, the left hand does not always talk to the right hand very well, and so the way that I'd prefer it is print these busted cards, make sets that are exciting, don't print them straight to modern, and also have a very liberal ban philosophy. Ban cards frequently, unban cards frequently. If we had this feeling like we could have a card on the ban list 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then have it come back off the ban list, maybe modern would be like thought of differently, and maybe the price would reflect it too. Where it's like maybe these cards do not hold such a giant price tag because people are scared of them uh, being banned the next week or whatever. I don't know.
Being iced out
Yeah,
or like put in the timeout zone or something, you know. Like Wizards is like, well, this has just like been way too crazy for a while. We're gonna take it out of the format,
yeah,
and then we're gonna wait for the next set to come out or something. And that's not a permanent solution, you know. But I like the idea of like, you know, if they have to have scheduled bans, do it every 2 weeks. We can endure 2 weeks. What we can't endure is
6
multiple
months.
months. Six, yeah, I was gonna say almost that's half a year
It's ridiculous.
of an insanely broken format. And
Yeah.
modern is inherently broken. So you can't ask us to like let something that's already broken be more busted and then expect us to endure it. Because like I take it back to KCI, right? Nadu's a perfect example. KCI is a perfect example where when something's busted and it's really broken, you have two options. You either play it or you leave, right? Or you like lose constantly and you're like a maniac who just enjoys playing like your deck, but like competitively, right?
Yeah.
When there's a deck like KCI or Nadu, you have two options. You either buy in or you wait. You wait for the
Yeah.
bans to happen and you just stop playing. And if there's 2 weeks, right? You don't lose a lot of people in the long run. But
Yeah.
if it's 6 months, how many invested players are like, well, I'm gonna go join a club to like to play sports or something, like change hobbies, because for
Yeah.
6 months I have to wait for this inherently busted thing that
Yeah.
maybe destroys what I love to do. Like it's really hard, and so like I feel like decreasing the frequency if they have to have it scheduled is probably the solution. And then unbans, right? Like if there's gonna be no MH sets, we have to be looking at massive unbans, right? Like there's got to be like a lot of cards. Like that's how they shake it up going forward, right? They like unban cards and then they port cards from legacy into modern.
Yeah.
That's like the only two solutions that I see going forward to make the like to increase the level of excitement for
Yeah.
modern.
Because of how awesome standard is right now, I totally agree. They need to do
Yeah.
something. Sure.
So, um yeah, is there anything else that you think should be banned like after this ban cycle? Is there anything that you feel like should be unbanned? We talked about some cards earlier. Are you? I can list them off. I rewatched our earlier podcast and I have all the cards written down. Do you want to hear what we would unban?
Yeah, list them out and I'll see if there's anything that I'll change.
So so in order of okayness, right? The first one that should be unbanned is Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin's totally fine.
Totally fine.
Uh, pu- then we have Punishing Fire. Punishing Fire is one damage, one mana shock. Then you have to pay a red to pick it up. You can only do it if your opponent gained life this turn. So it's 2 mana shock, and your opponent has to gain a life.
So it's like a
So
combo with Grove of the Bird Willows. That card seems fine to me, to be honest.
Bridge from Below died for Hogak's sins.
Yep.
Yeah, Altar of Dimensions okay
So we're
with
three
like
for three. Bella
yeah.
Bella.
So yeah, I'll bet good girl. Bridge from Below. Uh, then we start to get to some spicy ones. Then we got uh was the last? It was the artifact lands.
Yeah, I'm okay with the artifact lands being unbanned.
It's been a very long time since I've seen Affinity be a
Be viable.
be a. Yeah, I was gonna say like, how
Yeah.
long? Like, I want to see a Arcbound Ravager like put a bunch of counters on an Inkmoth Nexus and die. Like
Yeah.
that's not a thing that happens anymore.
How funny
Well,
is it
yeah,
too that you like pitch a green card on turn 2 and double sinkhole that for free?
well, and how many
You know?
exactly? And like, how many cards nowadays? Like, there's Meltdown, there's Wrath of the Skies. That's the other
Yeah.
reason I think they could come back. Um, then the other card is Field of the Dead. Um, and that's eight or that's nine. Field of the Dead. So there's the five artifact lands. Field of the Dead. Because if you get to
We
if you
could
get to
count the artifact
seven
lands as
different,
one. I
okay,
think
so there's
I think GT and Birthing Pod are both cards that could also join that list potentially as well. Like
I agree. I
cards that
think that
just
if
do
they're
not
really
hold up
trying
in
to cook,
this. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's so many cards that you could bring off the ban list. You say, okay, Monday comes around, the One Ring. Like I'd be okay with one. I'd be hoping for two cards from Energy. My preferable ones are Guided Souls and Raptor are banned
yeah.
in Modern, and then we unban these 10 cards. Have fun. I don't. Maybe Field of the Dead is too bad because it like that when Primeval Titans in the format, it creates kind of this like nasty late game. But I mean,
If you
can
can get seven lands in the
can
in the
Modern not
in play, you
adapt?
should win.
Are we not the Ugin's labyrinth?
We're dying to
Fucking
one ones right now.
yeah.
We're not.
Are we not like pitching the madness Emmercool and hitting people with like Annihilator 15 on turn 4 in this format? Like, give me a give me a break. Yeah, the Field of the Dead unban is a little bit like when like think of when Field of the Dead was banned, homies. We had Oko,
Oko,
Uro, Astrolabe. Like it was the dead of
Mystic
winter.
Sanctuary. Oh, Mystic Sanctuary and Once Upon a Time.
Mystic, yes, Oh my God, Mystic Sanctuary.
So that was the deck. It was Uro, Oko,
Yes.
Astrolabe, Mystic Sanctuary,
And you
Once
played
Upon a
like
Time.
Ice Fang Quaddles and like it's over
You
now,
beat them to
homies.
death. You beat
Listen,
them to death.
the nightmare's over. You can bring Field of the Dead back. I think it's not the same format that it used to be,
Yeah.
in that way. But
And then Dark Depths.
yeah,
But
I remember me saying Dark Depths is fine. I think Dark Depths is probably not great.
it
Upon
makes
further
Renin
review,
it makes Renin 6 really good. However, we have Solitude, we have Leyline Binding, we have Prismatic Ending, we have
yeah, they're all in white though.
yeah, it's
That's
true.
the issue.
So,
But
well, I think it would make it really interesting for lands players because right now, they don't really have much like lands. There's no real reason to play lands in modern, honestly.
yeah, no, for sure. And just like how exciting would a shakeup like that be?
Yeah.
And deal with and also announce that you're doing away with scheduled ban and restricted announcements. You're doing it as needed. You just create this like incredible sense of excitement. And because if you don't do that other piece as well, like if you do all those unbans and you do all those bans and you say, okay, see you in 6 months,
Yeah.
we're gonna be pissed still. Like even
Yeah,
if you
one
do,
thing's gonna rise to the top, and we're
yeah,
gonna be like, man, this is so busted. We need
yeah,
a ban.
exactly.
Where's ban?
TikTok.
Where's ban man?
Oh
Like,
my god, I feel in my soul that we are in agreement on this collectively. If you're not, please let us know in the comments
please
because I'd
comment.
love to discuss this with you and hopefully it'll create good discourse. But yeah, I mean, any comments on the fact that the One Ring is in 60% of decks with the second most played card overall, going up
I,
at
th- I
44?
I think that Flage is like the card out of MH3. It was the sleeper for a little while. People weren't exactly right off the bat like Flage is amazing. It worked well in decks, and the more people played with it with Arena, they realized that it was like the truth. The One Ring is like the card. Like there's cards where they're just good. There's good cards. There's flashy cards. The One Ring is a good and flashy card. So people will play it just because they can say that they're playing it, just so they can cast it, look their opponent in the eye, and say, "I'm playing this card." But it just happens to be a card that snowballs the game. It basically time walks your opponent because they draw a card and they can play a land, but they can't really interact with you in any way that's meaningful.
Right.
And so you end up in this situation where um, people play it because it's a combo piece. People play it because it's protection. People play it because it allows them to draw their threats, and people play it because they want to like
It's
show
proactive
off the
too.
fact. Yeah, exactly. And some people play it because like it's just like I could play any 4 drop in this spot. Well, I'm gonna play the ring just because, like all of those boxes get
Yeah.
checked in every matchup.
Yeah.
Like it is the epitome of a homogenizing card.
For sure.
It would be interesting to look at like what the highest percentage Astrolabe ever got to, because I would say this probably compares to that. Like, and we say Astrolabe is like the most busted card of all time in modern, right? Like
I
not of all
in
time,
my
but like
personal
some people
working
have
modern
said,
experience, like
yeah.
KCI, I didn't really play very much Hogak, but like yeah, Astrolabe was nasty.
Like in
Out of
terms
all
of
the things that that was
homogenization,
doing,
yeah, in terms of
yeah,
homogenization, like you
exactly.
you played basics and 5 colors.
5 color basic mountain, blood moon. No, 5 color basic land, blood moon soup. Yeah. I and the problem is I loved playing that deck too. But like that again, that's not the point is not is this card fun to play with? Like all of those are factors because if the card's fun to play with, that's one thing, but does it create fun play patterns is a completely different question. Do you have fun playing this card is not the same thing as does this card create fun? Period, because that has to do with your opponent. That's has to be part of the consideration.
And does it
Um,
push other cards out? Does it
yeah,
push other cards
can
in that
you name a
slot
card,
out?
a 4 drop in modern that's like even remotely close to as good as the One Ring? If you had to do your darndest to try and find a 4 drop that's even close to as good, I'm thinking no. I'm thinking like Yawgmoth and Yawgmoth specifically,
Yeah,
and Yawgmoth is trash by itself. The one
I'm
ri
saying Sling Gang Lieutenant or Goblin
that's what I'm saying. I was
Ringleader.
thinking Goblin Ringleader. The first card I thought of was Goblin Ringleader. So
So
funny and
they're gonna
ridiculous.
ban. I'm gonna say they're gonna ban the One Ring, and I'm gonna have my ringleaders.
Well, and if they ban the One Ring, Goblin Ringleader, Expressive Iteration, like random card
cards
advantage
cards come back.
cards, like Inti, like Seasoned Pyromancer, like these cards are now unsoft banned, which is nice. So yeah, this episode feels very similar to the last podcast we made, but that I think is very telling as to like where the like modern format is as a whole. Nothing has changed. It still is not in a great spot,
And we're
and we're
hoping.
hoping, yeah, we're hoping for changes.
Yeah. We just wanna put that energy out there. We wanna hope that things change. And prepare for the worst, but hope for the best.
So what if no changes happen on tomorrow on Monday? We if we have
Well,
to prepare for the worst, what's gonna are we just
so that's
standard gamers now? Like
so that means that we have to play 6 more months of the One Ring energy, right?
it might be 6 months. Let me double check and make sure.
Let's prepare for the worst. Let's do some research real quick. Bad announcements.
So this was back
Well,
in August. That's 4 months ago. December
okay.
16. So this was August 26. So that is
Well, that's four.
I think we did this last time, but two is one, two, three. 16 weeks divided by 4 is 4. So that's 4 months.
Okay, 4 months makes sense more than 6 months
That's still
to get to.
so fucking long, dude.
It is way too long,
That's way too
definitely.
long. That's
So they could say, we have a specialty set that we haven't announced, that we're gonna market in a month and sell in a month. It's gonna have the One Ring in it. It's gonna be like a specialty slot. It's gonna be like a specialty promo slot.
I've heard a lot of people
And
ask, what if we just restrict to One Ring? What do you feel about that?
does that solve the issue? I think it helps a lot. Um,
Because if the well, and like if the play pattern is like,
because you
oh,
die to it. You die to it. You can't
you
really
can,
usually bounce it. The only way that you can like usually bounce it is if you kill it with
yeah,
another One Ring. So I think that helps. Um,
26% of the meta. At what point does like because the next best deck or the next most
Eight,
played deck is 8%. So at what
and
point
eight
are
is
we
a
like
good
this is
chunk.
bad? Yeah, because 8 is a good chunk. That's
Yeah,
almost 1 in 10. Like that's almost 1 in 10.
I remember when we were talking about like percentages. I was watching a video, I think, where it was like 15 is when they start to look at decks as like busted. Like 15 is when it starts to like rise to like a too much.
Yeah.
I think the example they were using was like old school Delver, like in Legacy. They were like when it starts to get above 20%, that's what's bannable,
Yeah. And I think
s-
modern should have different requirements than like standard, where if there's 5 decks in the metagame or like 10 decks in the metagame, having something be 20%, 25% is probably less concerning. And you might be looking for a deck that's like 50% of the metagame in standard before you
yeah.
ban it.
This is a quarter of like
Of
maybe like a
s-
million cards,
so
right?
many fucking decks. Yeah.
Like decks made of like a million cards, probably, or like that's probably a gross overstatement, but like 100,000 cards from like seventh edition forward,
Yeah.
right? Were in decks, and Boros Energy is a quarter of the decks that are made out of those cards.
Yeah. And I bet there's like at least 15, if not 20 decks that you could probably tell me you're playing, and I'd be like, oh shit, I gotta sit up in my seat, you know?
Yeah,
Like Ruby Storm, Belcher, Vengeance, Grinding Station, all these decks that are on the map here seem good. And then there's always people's like niche deck, like Dredge isn't in here. Um, I see Domain Zoo, I see Zoo, but like all the different land
you
styles,
yeah, you always got a kindred player, right? Whether it's
Yawgmoth,
humans
Elves,
or
yeah.
oh my god, yeah, you have Yawgmoth players. Um, yeah, don't don't
Budget
sleep.
decks, Dredge.
Yeah, don't sleep on the budget decks. You'll take a turn off and you'll somehow die. They're
True.
budget for a reason. It's because they can afford to be.
Budget decks for Orchestra Masters.
Oh no. See, that's $400
Yeah.
dollars. That's four Ogre Sporemasters,
Budget decks,
$400.
$500. This game is broken.
Yeah, this is busted, but it's fun, and I
Yeah.
think that it's gonna keep being fun as long as we continue. People like us continue to care for the format. As
Hell
long as
yeah.
we have these discussions, as long as we at least try to talk about the things that we want to have happen, even if they don't happen now. Maybe discourse can happen in the future, and it can lead to the changes we want to see. But
Absolutely.
it starts with this talking. It starts with the discussion.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then do you want to do any sort of like wind down stuff? Do you want to talk about like non-magic related topics? What kind of games you're playing recently or any sort of
Uh,
tidbits you have for the audience?
Yeah, so like played dominoes the other day with my grandma. That was on Thanksgiving, and I will say I highly recommend dominoes, but do not play double dominoes. Double dominoes is where you have double the amount of dots, so it goes from 1 to 6 usually. Double dominoes goes 1 to 12, and so on each side there can be up to 12 dots. And when you're playing dominoes with your grandma, that's way too many dots. Don't do double
How
dominoes.
many fucking dots is this?
I think that's 15. I think that let me count. Let me count that real
Oh,
quick.
that makes sense. Hell yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then yeah, just playing a lot of paper magic, grinding a lot of RCQs standard. Been playing a lot of standard goblins, Gruul, Boros, and Izzet. I will say Cole Negate is a busted magic card.
Mm, don't I know
Uh,
it?
all the issues that I struggle with get answered by Negate. Like
Yeah.
Sunfall,
You play like bad
temporary
tempo,
lockdown.
you know? Yeah, but it's tempo nonetheless, you know? You don't
Yeah,
have to play like standalone like flash dudes. You could play goblins, and as long as you're holding up 1 mana, like spell pierce interacts the same exact way, you know?
but they're like, I'm gonna win the game, and I'm like,
Yeah. Say no lies.
don't do it, don't do
Yeah.
it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I
Thank
think
you guys.
that'll do it for us. But
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
you wanna do anything other sort of plug in? Are you on Blue Sky yet? Or are you on Twitter or anything like that?
I am. I'm on Blue Sky and I'm on Twitter. I was just gonna say thank you guys so much for watching and shout out to Chicago for recording the gameplay that we use sometimes in the channel. Shout out to the Boar's Hat Gaming for for the Modern League and the Standard League and the Pioneer League that we play. And shout out to Energy Gaming and our and Energy Series for hosting the massive events. Um, gotta plug all the homies.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. And I will just ditto that. I don't have a lot of things going on. I guess the place I play modern at, Denver Central Games. If you're ever in the area, come jam some modern with me. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening to the Jack and Cole podcast. Once again, we have rebranded our name. It will be I will bring less attention to it next time, I swear. And
No, it's you have to clarify this for sure. It makes
yeah,
sense.
absolutely. And until next time, hydrate or dihydrate. Take care of your loved ones. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Peace.